I'm Lucas, and I want to share my journey of how I learned to truly enjoy life. I live in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, a city famous for its beaches, music, and energy. But for a long time, I was just existing, not really living. Every day was the same for me. I woke up early, grabbed a quick breakfast, and rushed to work. I was a junior manager in an office, and I spent hours in front of a computer answering emails and attending meetings. It felt like I was always waiting for the weekend. But when the weekend came, I was too tired to enjoy it. One day, I was sitting at my desk, feeling exhausted when my colleague João asked, "Lucas, when was the last time you did something just for fun?" I couldn't remember. That question stayed with me, and I started to wonder, am I missing out on life? A few days later, my friends and I took a trip to Sugarloaf Mountain. It was beautiful up there. The view of Rio, the sea, and the sky felt endless. João turned to me and said, "Lucas, life is not just about work. You have to live, really live. Don't wait for a perfect moment, because it may never come." I realized he was right. That was the moment when everything changed for me. After that trip, I decided to make small changes. I woke up earlier to take a walk by the beach before work, feeling the cool sand under my feet and hearing the waves was peaceful. Every time I walked by the ocean, I felt a little more alive. I stopped rushing through life. I started paying attention to the things I never noticed before. The taste of my coffee in the morning, the breeze on my face, or the sound of birds in the trees. On weekends, instead of staying at home, I tried new things. I joined a samba class with my friend Camila. At first, I was nervous. I had never danced before, and I thought people might laugh at me. But as the music played, I realized no one cared if I was perfect. We were all there to have fun. I let go of my fears, and soon I found myself laughing, dancing, and feeling free. Learning samba taught me that it's okay to step out of my comfort zone. Brazil has a saying, "A vida é para ser vivida," which means life is meant to be lived. I started to truly understand what this meant. Every day is an opportunity to create memories, meet new people, and try new things. One weekend, I traveled to Bahia, a state in the northeast of Brazil, famous for its beautiful beaches and warm people. I spent my days surfing, eating acarajé, a popular street food, and learning about the rich Afro-Brazilian culture. It was an experience that opened my eyes to the diversity and beauty of my country. The more I traveled, the more I realized that life isn't just about big moments. It's about the small, everyday things that bring you joy. One day, I was having lunch with my mother, and she told me something that stayed with me. "Lucas, happiness isn't something you chase. It's something you create." From that moment on, I stopped waiting for happiness to find me. I started creating it every day. At work, I found ways to make my job more meaningful. Instead of just focusing on deadlines, I began helping my colleagues and finding joy in teamwork. Outside of work, I made more time for my hobbies. I took up photography, capturing the vibrant colors of Rio Whether it was the golden sunset over Copacabana or the lively street markets in Lapa. Then came Carnival, the biggest celebration in Brazil. For days, the city was alive with music, dancing, and color. I joined a street party with friends, dressed in bright costumes, and danced for hours. There was something magical about being surrounded by thousands of people, all celebrating life together. It didn't matter who you were or where you came from. In that moment, we were all the same, just people enjoying life. I learned a powerful lesson during Carnival. Life isn't perfect, but that's okay. It's the imperfections, the surprises, and the unexpected moments that make life beautiful. You don't need a reason to celebrate. Life itself is the reason. Of course, life isn't always easy. There were days when I felt stressed, tired, or unsure of myself. But every time I faced a challenge, I reminded myself of the beauty around me. I remembered that life is a gift, and it's up to me to make the most of it. One of the hardest times was when I lost a close friend. It was a painful experience, and for a while, I struggled to find joy again. But during that difficult time, I remembered what Juam had said, "Don't wait for the perfect moment." I knew that my friend would have wanted me to keep living, to keep enjoying life. Slowly, I started to heal by focusing on the small joys, watching the sunset, spending time with family, and continuing to dance samba. Now, I live life freely, with no regrets. I'm not waiting for the future to be happy. I'm enjoying the present. Every day, I remind myself of a simple truth. Life is short, and we only have one chance to live it. Whether I'm working, dancing, or traveling, I try to live with gratitude and joy. I've learned that freedom isn't about having no responsibilities. It's about having the courage to live life on your terms. It's about waking up each morning with the excitement of what the day might bring, and going to bed each night feeling fulfilled. As I continued to embrace life, I made a decision. I was going to travel more. Brazil is huge, and I hadn't even scratched the surface of what this beautiful country had to offer. I was excited to see new places, meet different people, and collect experiences along the way. But travel isn't just about seeing new places. It's about learning how to deal with life. My first stop was the Amazon rainforest. Let me tell you, it was nothing like Rio. The heat was intense, and the air was so thick with humidity that it felt like walking through a warm, wet cloud. I remember my guide, Anna, telling us, "You have to respect the jungle. It's alive." That stuck with me. It wasn't just a place. It was an entire world of its own. As we explored, I saw animals I'd only ever seen in pictures. Jaguars, pink river dolphins, and even giant snakes. It was beautiful, but wild. A reminder that nature doesn't play by our rules. One night, as we camped under the stars, I lay in my hammock, listening to the sounds of the jungle, the chirping of insects, the distant howl of a monkey, and the soft rustling of the trees. It felt peaceful and a little bit scary at the same time. I thought about my life back in Rio, about how fast things moved there. Here in the Amazon, time seemed to slow down. It was a chance for me to reflect and to think about what I really wanted in life. After my Amazon adventure, I headed to Salvador, a vibrant city on the coast. It was there that I met Elisa. She was a friend of a friend, and from the moment I saw her, I was smitten. She had this easy smile, the kind that lights up a room, and she was always laughing. I thought to myself, is this what it feels like to have a crush? I hadn't felt that way in a long time, and it caught me off guard. We spent a lot of time together, going to the beach, eating local food, and exploring the old colonial streets of Salvador. The more time I spent with her, the more I liked her. She was smart, funny, and full of life. One evening, we were sitting at a beachside cafe, watching the sunset, and I thought, maybe this could be something more. But then, out of nowhere, she mentioned her husband. I almost choked on my drink. Your husband? I repeated, trying to sound casual, but inside I was screaming. She laughed and nodded. Yeah, we've been married for 3 years. Didn't I mention that? No, Elisa. No, you didn't mention that. I thought to myself, it was like a bucket of cold water had been dumped over my head. I had been building up this whole romance in my mind, and it turned out she was married the whole time. It was a funny situation in hindsight, but at that moment, I felt like an idiot. After that, I made a mental note to always ask about someone's relationship status before I let my imagination run wild. Lesson learned. But you know what? That's life. Sometimes things don't go the barrow-to way you expect, and you just have to laugh about it. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you can't take life too seriously. When I told my friends about the Elisa situation, they couldn't stop laughing. Camilla, my best friend, said Lucas, you always find yourself in the most ridiculous situations. And she was right. But I realized something important. Life is too short to get upset over things you can't control. It's better to laugh and move on. One time, I was at a small party with friends, and we were playing this game where everyone had to share an embarrassing moment. I told them about a time when I was a kid and tried to impress a girl by showing off my surfing skills. I wasn't much of a surfer back then, and as soon as I got on the board, I wiped out spectacularly in front of her. To make things worse, when I finally surfaced, I realized my swimsuit had been pulled down by the waves. I was mortified at the time, but now it's one of my funniest memories. That story made everyone laugh so hard they were in tears. Moments like that remind me that it's okay to make mistakes, and it's even better if you can laugh at them. Life is full of awkward, funny, and ridiculous moments, but those are the things that make it memorable. So, how do you deal with life? I've realized it's all about perspective. When things go wrong, instead of getting frustrated, I ask myself, what can I learn from this? Every challenge is an opportunity to grow, and every mistake is a lesson. Take travel, for example. Not everything goes according to plan when you're on the road. I've missed flights, lost luggage, and once got horribly sunburned because I forgot to pack sunscreen on a trip to Florianopolis. But each of those experiences taught me something valuable. I learned to be more patient, more prepared, and to go with the flow. And you know what? It's the unplanned moments that make the best stories. Like the time I got lost in the streets of Sao Paulo and ended up finding a hidden cafe that served the best coffee I've ever had, or the time my bus broke down in the middle of nowhere, and I spent hours talking with an old man who had some of the wisest advice about life. He told me, "Lucas, you can plan all you want, but life will take you where it wants to go. Just enjoy the ride." After the Elisa incident, I promised myself that I wouldn't let awkward moments define me. Life is too short to be embarrassed all the time. Besides, when you travel as much as I do, weird things happen all the time. And honestly, it's better that way. A few weeks later, I decided to take a trip to a small coastal town called Parity. It's famous for its cobblestone streets, colonial buildings, and beautiful beaches. I was excited to get away from the noise of the city and spend some time relaxing. But as usual, things didn't go exactly as planned. I was supposed to catch a bus early in the morning, but being the genius I am, I overslept. By the time I woke up, the bus had already left. I rushed to the bus station, hoping to catch the next one, only to find out that there wouldn't be another bus for hours. Great, I thought. This is going to be a long day. I sat down on a bench, feeling frustrated, when an old woman sat next to me. She must have noticed my mood because she smiled and said, "You know, sometimes missing the bus is the best thing that can happen to you." I looked at her, confused. She continued, "Life has a way of putting us exactly where we need to be, even if we don't realize it at the time." I wasn't sure if she was trying to cheer me up, or if she was just crazy, but I decided to go with it. We ended up talking for hours. She told me about her life, how she used to be a dancer, traveling all over the world, and how she met her husband while performing in Argentina. Her stories were full of adventure, love, and lessons about living freely. By the time we finished talking, I wasn't even mad about missing the bus anymore. In fact, when the next bus finally arrived, I almost didn't want to leave. I felt like I had learned something important that day, that sometimes the best moments in life are the ones you don't plan. When I finally made it to Parity, I checked into a small bed and breakfast run by a friendly couple. The place was cozy, with hammocks in the garden and the sound of the ocean in the distance. It was the perfect spot to unwind. One evening, while I was having dinner at a local restaurant, I noticed a woman sitting alone at the bar. She was beautiful, with dark hair and a quiet confidence about her. We made eye contact a few times, and eventually I worked up the courage to go talk to her. Her name was Sophia, and she was a photographer traveling through Brazil to capture the beauty of the country. We hit it off right away. We talked about everything: photography, travel, life, and our dreams for the future. The more we talked, the more I liked her. Over the next few days, we spent a lot of time together. We explored the town, went to the beach, and even went on a boat tour of the nearby islands. I started to feel like there might be something special between us. But then, one evening, as we were walking along the beach, Sophia dropped a bombshell. "I need to tell you something," she said, looking serious. My heart sank. Here we go again, I thought. "I'm married," she said, her voice soft. I couldn't believe it. Not again, I thought. This was Elisa all over again, but this time I didn't feel angry or upset. I just laughed. I mean, what are the chances? Twice in 1 month? Sophia smiled, relieved that I wasn't mad. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner," she said. "I just didn't want to ruin the fun we were having." And you know what? She was right. We had been having a great time. And just because she was married didn't mean we couldn't still enjoy the rest of our trip. So I decided to let it go. We spent the rest of the evening watching the sunset, laughing about how ridiculous life can be sometimes. As I've gotten older, I've realized that life is full of surprises. Some good, some not so good. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that you have to roll with the punches. Whether it's missing a bus, falling for a married woman twice, or getting lost in a foreign country, you have to find the humor in it. Life is too short to be serious all the time. One of my favorite quotes is, "Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain." And that's exactly what I've been doing. Learning to enjoy the ride no matter where it takes me. And speaking of learning, let me tell you about the time I had a crush on my gym trainer. Her name was Carla, and she was in incredible shape. Every time I saw her, I tried to impress her by lifting heavier weights than usual or running faster on the treadmill. I was sure that she'd notice me. One day, I decided to ask her out. I rehearsed what I was going to say all morning, trying to sound cool and confident. But when the moment finally came, I was so nervous that I blurted out, "Do you want to maybe lift weights together sometime?" She looked at me like I was crazy. "You know, I'm married, right?" she said, raising an eyebrow. Of course, I had no idea. I tried to play it off, but I was so embarrassed that I almost tripped over a dumbbell on my way out of the gym. Looking back, it's hilarious. But at the time, I thought I'd never live it down. So how do I deal with life when things don't go as planned? I laugh. I find the humor in every situation, no matter how awkward or uncomfortable it is. Life is unpredictable, but that's what makes it exciting. And as for love, well, I'm still working on that part. But for now, I'm happy traveling, meeting new people, and collecting stories. Who knows what's next? Maybe I'll meet someone who isn't married, or maybe I'll just keep enjoying life, one adventure at a time. After the whole thing with Sophia, I realized that sometimes life really does have a twisted sense of humor. You think you're on one path, and suddenly the road turns, leaving you scratching your head, wondering how you got there. But honestly, that's where the magic happens. The unexpected, the chaos. That's where the best stories are born. After my time in Parody, I decided to go back to Sao Paulo and look for a job. I figured it was time to stop traveling and try to settle down for a bit. So I applied for a few jobs and got called in for an interview at a marketing company. I walked into the office feeling pretty confident, but the moment I saw the interviewer, my confidence disappeared. It was Carla, the gym trainer I had a crush on. She didn't seem to recognize me, which was a relief, but I couldn't stop thinking about how I had asked her to lift weights together, like an idiot. The interview started off well, but then Carla asked, "So, Lucas, how do you handle difficult situations?" Without thinking, I said, "Oh, I'm great at dealing with awkward moments. Like this one, for example." Carla raised an eyebrow. I could feel my face turning red. I tried to recover by explaining how I handle stress and challenges in a professional setting, but the damage was done. I knew I wasn't getting the job, and honestly, I didn't care. I just wanted to get out of there. Without tripping over my own words again, by the end of the interview, we were both laughing. I didn't get the job, but I walked out of the office with a smile on my face, knowing that I had at least made the best of an embarrassing situation. A few weeks later, I found myself on the beach again, this time just outside Rio de Janeiro. I was sitting on the sand, watching the waves, when an older man came and sat next to me. He was quiet for a while, just staring at the ocean. Then, out of nowhere, he said, "You know, the best thing about life is that it doesn't care about your plans." I looked at him, curious. "What do you mean?" He smiled and said, "Everyone thinks they know where they're going, what they want, but life always has other ideas. The trick is to stop trying to control everything. Let life surprise you. That's when the real adventure begins." We talked for hours after that. The man had lived an incredible life. He had traveled the world, started his own business, lost it all, and built it back up again. He told me stories about sailing in the Mediterranean, getting lost in the deserts of Egypt, and even meeting the love of his life at a small cafe in Paris. But the thing that stuck with me the most was his attitude. He didn't take life too seriously. He laughed at his mistakes, found joy in the simple moments, and never let failure stop him from trying again. It was the kind of attitude I aspired to have. Fast forward a few months, and I was back in Sao Paulo attending a wedding. A friend of a friend had invited me, and I figured, why not? Free food, good music, and maybe even a chance to meet someone new. The wedding was beautiful, set in a garden with fairy lights hanging from the trees. Everything was perfect, except for the fact that I didn't know anyone there. I tried to make small talk, but it was awkward. I felt like an outsider. But then, something hilarious happened. As I stood there at the wedding, feeling more out of place by the minute, I spotted the cake. It was massive, tall enough that you could probably see it from space. I figured, why not grab a slice early? At least I'd have something to do. So I made my way over, trying to be discreet. Just as I reached for a plate, I heard someone call out, "Wait, stop!" I froze, cake knife in hand, realizing too late that I'd almost cut into the display cake, the one that wasn't meant to be touched. Everyone around me burst into laughter, and I turned bright red. It was mortifying, but also kind of hilarious. I had managed to turn a quiet, awkward moment into the highlight of the reception. Suddenly, people started coming up to me, cracking jokes about the cake incident, and I felt the ice break. The awkwardness dissolved, and before I knew it, I was chatting and laughing with the other guests, like we were old friends. One guy even gave me the nickname Cake Bandit for the rest of the night. It turned out to be one of the most memorable weddings I've ever attended, all thanks to my near crime against wedding cake. Sometimes it takes an embarrassing moment to find your way in, and that night, I realized that life's most awkward moments are often the ones that lead to the best stories. The rest of the evening was a blur of dancing, laughter, and new connections. What started as a lonely, uncomfortable experience transformed into a night I wouldn't trade for anything. And while I didn't end up knowing anyone at the start, I left with plenty of new friends and a newfound appreciation for not taking life too seriously. Sometimes the best memories are made when things don't go as planned.